Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Charity First Handicapping Challenge. And wow, what an exciting day today. I've been looking forward to this. Chappie, this promises to be an epic battle between our two guests.
Yeah, George, I feel like we're in the company of royalty here. We got a couple of all-star guests, and it's all about them. So let's get the ball rolling and get started with Eddie O and Steve Coffin. Just an honor to have them both on the show.
It is a pleasure to have you guys on the show. And, well, let me introduce my guest today is Steve Coffin, a living legend, renowned, of course, for being the youngest jockey to ever win the Triple Crown. And what a Triple Crown it was. One of the most exciting rivalries we've ever seen between Affirmed and Alidar in 1977. He just had a magical year, winning 477 races. In 1 week, he won 23 races. He won the Eclipse Award for the Best Jockey of the Year, Eclipse Award for the Best Apprentice of the Year. He was on every magazine you can imagine. Here's my favorite right here, him smoking a big cigar right there on Time Magazine. That cigar is a Cuban cigar. Probably Laz Barrera gave him that Cuban cigar. And but I tell you what, I got to meet him in South Dakota. We became fast friends. And for all his Hall of Fame exploits, the only jockey to win the Kentucky Derby and the Epsom Derby, and the accolades go on and on. He's been on every magazine. Off the track, he's just a wonderful man, a great husband, 3 beautiful kids, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show, Mr. Steve Coffin.
George, always a pleasure to be with you, buddy. It's we had some fun up there in North Dakota, wasn't it, or South Dakota?
Yeah, we had some great times. It was awful lot of fun. Yeah. Chappie, who's your guest today?
My man Eddie Olczyk, 16-year NHL veteran, Stanley Cup champion, the voice of NBC, analyst for the NHL and the Triple Crown, and he's calling games. The guy had like a game this morning. He's got one this afternoon, 2 tomorrow, but he fit us in the schedule because he's a good guy. Eddie, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Chappie, George, Steve, great to be with all of you. Hope you're all safe and healthy, as well as all the people out there watching. And it's really an honor to be on with Steve. And, we don't have a lot in common. The one thing we do have in common, though, Steve, is that way back when we were both in Sports Illustrated a couple of times. Now, the one difference is you were on the cover, and we just with Time Magazine. I wasn't on the cover, so that's about as close as that I get to Steve Coffin. But I will do this, Chappie, because George was using props as well.
Oh, we got props.
Uh-oh.
Well, I look at me. I got my own There you go.
There you go. Cool.
I love it.
All right, George, you and I don't have our face on anything, but
I got nothing.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to the picks, Coffin, so many people want to hear from you. Obviously, you're most famous for this moment right here. I got 87 props, Eddie. Here he is. This is the Belmont Stakes where he won, and it was the closest of the 3 of them. You're very famous for that. Let me tell you something. It was a blessing, obviously, for you to win that Triple Crown, but you probably have had to talk about that Triple Crown 677 million times since that day. So it was a blessing, but also hopefully you're not getting tired of it, because I'd like to ask you, walk us through that Triple Crown. How is that feeling?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And that picture you just showed of the stretch run of the Belmont, that was really probably the most exciting race I've ever seen, when you think of, what was all wrapped up in, trying to win that race from both sides. I mean, Alidar and Affirm were great rivals. We both had good, great teams. Obviously, we had Laz Pereira was our trainer. The Wilsons were the owners. We had a great, Toto was our exercise guy. And, it was just, they obviously had a great team too. They had, obviously had a great history as well. So, it was like, the young kid from Kentucky taking on Calumet Farm. And it was, the great thing was, and what is great is there's so many characters in racing, and Laz Barrera was like the greatest character of all time. I remember when we got down to the Derby, and of course they were interviewing Laz, and they said, why are you letting this, young kid, he's only, what is he, 18 years old, just turned 18 2 days ago. He said, Stevie Coffin, he comes from a flying sausage, like from another world, he's like an old man and, in this body. So, it was just a lot of fun, watching them. I was the quiet one, just kept my out of it all, just said what I had to say. But it was just an exciting thing. And obviously you get to the Belmont, like a lot of big sporting events, and, the build up is great, but then, you get a letdown with the actual event. But I can certainly say that, that lived up to all the expectations and then some.
Hey, Steve, I'd like to ask you, did you, when you're in the moment like that, do you hear the crowd? Because I know of playing in the National Hockey League for 16 years, like the only time you really hear the crowd, at least when you're playing hockey, is when you're sitting on the bench or there's a whistle or whatever. Like when you're in the moment, why don't you take us through, like, when you were riding, especially when you're trying to get the Triple Crown?
That it is interesting because, obviously, you don't really hear that in general, but that day, in Belmont's a big track, so obviously all the way on the backside is a long way away from the stands. But that day when Aladar, started to move up to challenge me on the backside, I could hear the crowd. Of course, at that point we were just sitting there kind of pacing our horses, and I could just hear the crowd erupt, because it was like the fight's on, And then, of course, after that, I never heard him. I didn't hear him all the way down the stretch because you're so into everything and focused and breathing, and all that. But that was the first and only time I've ever heard the crowd like that, and basically it was just because, they knew that what they'd come to see was going to happen.
I got to have a question for both of you real quick, because you two are one of the very few in the world that have been on the world's biggest stage. So, Edzo, when you get out on the ice for the Stanley Cup Finals, or Steve, when you walk onto the track for the Derby, or let's say the Belmont to win the Triple Crown, the nerves, are they there up until the puck drops or the race starts, or once you get on the ice or on the track, do you calm and go into your game face? What's it like for either of you?
Yeah, I would say for me, it was, if I was not nervous and I didn't have butterflies, then I was worried. I was worried that, it might not go the way that I would have liked, or our team would have liked. I think probably the most nervous that I've ever been in my, probably in my professional career. I was going to say my life, because I think the most nervous I ever was is when I proposed to my wife about getting married. That was probably the most nervous that I ever was. But as I played in the Olympics, I was a 17-year-old young kid from Chicago playing for Team USA in the 1984 U.S. Olympics in Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, playing a great game of hockey and representing our country in a sporting venue. And that was right after the Miracle on Ice 4 years later in 1980. And I was only 12 or on my way to 13 years old. I'm like, wow, would I love to take part in that someday? Maybe when I'm old, like, I'm 21 or 22. And sure enough, I'm playing in the Olympics when I was 17. So for me, that was probably when I was the most nervous, taking the ice for our first game against the Canadians. Unfortunately, we lost that game, but that was probably the most nervous that I ever had been, and just kind of really, I think, because of the worldwide moment of knowing what was going on, and everybody in the U.S. anyways, whether they liked hockey or not, they were focusing on the USA men's hockey team, considering what the Miracle on Ice in Lake Placid almost 4 years ago. So I think nerves are okay. I really do.
Yeah. Now for me, it was, obviously, you do have some nerves. You're thinking about it. I mean, I wouldn't call it. It's kind of nervous energy. You want it, like Eddie said, you want to have that, because it means you're in it. You're thinking about things that you're supposed to be thinking about, and possibilities. And but for me, which was as soon as they legged me up on the horse, the nerves, because then I was doing the things that I knew I was supposed to be doing. Checking the saddle, doing stuff, and then, I kind of was able to calm down and get into my job.
So, of course, 1977, just a spectacular year. You won 477 races. so many. You were on every cover of every magazine. The only jockey ever to be on the cover of this magazine as the Sportsman of the Year, Sports Illustrated. You were like, what was that? You're 17 in this picture, I think. And what was that like? The only one ever. Tell me about that incredible year, 1977, and all the accomplishments you did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it was great. To be quite honest, I don't think I had any clue how big of a deal being Sportsman of the Year in Sports Illustrated really was back then, even though I knew it was a big deal. You know, Sports Illustrated was a big magazine. But as you say, then you start saying the only jockey ever to even be thought of, you know, get that opportunity to do that. And, you know, Tiger Woods, you know, the guys that have done it before, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, or boxer, you know, great athletes, you know. And I'll tell you, it's a funny story because I was at a signing with Reggie Jackson, because that was that Reggie Jackson they were in the World Series. And I walked up to Reggie, and there was a basketball player. I can't remember his name, but we were talking, and he said, "Yeah, this is Steve Coffin." Yeah, he says, "You know what?" To the basketball player guy, he said, "The only 2 times that I had a chance to win Sportsman of the Year, I got beat once by a damn horse, and the other time by this little." Secretary was Sportsman of the Year one year, I guess. Yeah. So anyway, it was just funny.
I love it.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Ed. So we're going back to you. You can remember the firm Deladar, and obviously, but you've been a lover of horse racing for forever, as long as I've known you, but much longer. Was there a certain moment that triggered you to, oh, this is the sport I love? I mean, how early at an age did you really get into horse racing?
Oh boy, I think it was the first time that I stepped foot at Old Arlington Park Racetrack, which is about 8.4 miles from my house today.
And a great track too.
Yeah, it was. I think, look, at falling in love with the equine athlete and seeing these, you know, majestic animals when I was 12 years old, and knowing that they're, you know, somewhere in that 1,100 pound range, and you have these crazy humans on the back of them weighing 115 or 120 pounds going 35, 40 miles an hour. And then, you know, falling in love with the handicapping part of it. Luke, I mean, that's how I got hooked onto horse racing. But I think just being at the track is what I miss the most, whether it's because of my job or the world that we're living in now, or, you know, it's so easy to just sit at home and watch the races on television and wear out my express bet every single day of the year. But, you know, I think the wagering aspect of it, Chappie, for me is really, I think what drew me into it even more. And, you know, I remember going my first time, and, you know, the first couple of times, and again, I don't know, maybe I had $20 or $30 on me or whatever. And I would go up to the teller, and, you know, I made a couple of small, you know, wagers or whatever. And I didn't know what I was doing. Then my friend, my hockey friend, and his dad, his late father, Tony Quillis, you know, kind of, you know, introduced me to horse racing. So I went up the first couple of times, and, you know, I lost $7 or $8, and I went to the same teller. So I went to the same teller, and I remember I played an exacta, and I think I hit it for like, you know, $117 or whatever. So Ooh. I was all excited. I go up to the window, I give him my ticket, and the ticket taker looks at me and goes, "Hey, how old are you?" I go,
"Yeah, they didn't mind taking
money, but you didn't ask me how old I was when I lost." So he gave me my 107. He gave me my, you know, $117 or whatever. I left him $2. I winked at him, and I walked away, and I've been walking back and forth ever since. So.
I love it. I love it.
Very cool.
Look, I got a picture of you right here. You fell off a horse, and here you got a broken arm, a broken rib, and a black eye.
I know.
To Eddie, that's like a Tuesday game.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, every Tuesday I had a black eye, and Eddie sees this picture and he goes, he still has all his teeth. He's a wimp.
Wow.
But you moved your tag from New York, and you came over here to Santa Anita. Here you are at Santa Anita, Sportsman of the Year, and you were 17, I think, when you were on the cover of Time. Here, I think you're 9 years old. So you did a Benjamin Buttons You went back in time. What are you, 9 there? What's going on there?
17 or 16 or 17. It was when that was when I came out to California following the firm, really. And in 77. And, like I had a really good meet there that year. I think I was leading rider for most of the meet until the last, maybe month. And then Lafitte ended up, winning by a few. And I think I finished 3rd or 4th in the standings that year, but I won 80 something races out there. The following year didn't go so well, but, I love California. I had a lot of fun out there, great racing. And obviously, when you're out there with a horse like Affirmed, it's all good. But, the next year, it didn't go so good. So then I decided to go to England or I got the opportunity to go to England, and, that was it worked out to be a good move for me. And, I loved all the time I was spent over there. I just got done watching the Dubai World Cup. I used to ride for Sheikh Mohammed. So, there's a lot of worldwide connections in racing, as you say, and it's like people from all walks of life, hockey or, showbiz or, all sorts of people are involved. And it's I've been blessed to have met so many neat people and it's been just a blast. Really has.
Hey, Steve, you're just talking about, you mentioned hockey there. It just made me think of, I remember the first time that I was playing. So I came into the National Hockey League in 1984 with the Chicago Blackhawks, and we went into the LA Forum. We were playing the Kings at the time. And I remember going into the penalty box in LA.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there was this, this wee little fellow in there opening the door in the penalty box at the old LA Forum. And I'm like, I know that guy. So I couldn't put 2 and 2 together, right? And he sitting there, he opened the door, we had a little conversation. And then sure enough, I'm like, that's Sandy Hawley. What is Sandy doing in a penalty box? So sure enough,
he loves hockey.
Yeah. He's a smart guy. He would win her in California instead of saying in Toronto.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's how I met Sandy Hawley for the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, remember betting on him, remember watching him, but the first time I met him, I was in a penalty box, and here he is being one of the timekeepers or the official scorekeepers there at the old LA Forum. So
now, Enzo, did you get like a 10-minute major on purpose just so you could go back and talk to him for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, don't be afraid to share something here too. If I'm coming back, let me know what you like tomorrow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Speaking of great jockeys, you obviously were around some of the greatest in our sports. Billy Shue. One of the guys I loved betting on was Braulio Baez, and he was just spectacular. There was a story that his agent was standing with him, and you were riding a horse, and Braulio Baez says, his agent says, "Man, look at that Steve Coffin. He is really good. He reminds me of you. You look like that." And Braulio Baez says, "I look that good?" So he loved you. Braulio Baez loved you. Who was your jockey?
I styled myself after Braulio Baez.
Is that really? That's what I was thinking.
He was a tall jockey. Of course, I didn't know him at the time, and I didn't know, that it would turn out. There's a lot of interesting things. Of course, his agent was Lenny Goodman, who became my agent. When I went up the first time to New York to ride a few races at Saratoga, because a guy, just had seen me at River Downs and said, you need to be in New York. Well, I knew I wasn't ready yet, because that was like, I'd only been riding for 2.5 months, but I did want to go and see it and kind of just see what it was like, because I obviously, I knew New York was where it was at. That was the big time. So I went up there and rode a couple races, and I got to meet Lenny Goodman, and of course, he had Braulio at the time, but Braulio was having weight problems, and so anyway, when I went back up and started riding again, Braulio pretty much was done. And Braulio gave me a saddle, a big saddle, because he obviously wasn't going to need it anymore in his life, that had weight things on the side. And that's the saddle that I won the Triple Crown on.
Wow.
It was his saddle, then it was mine. And now it's, it's the one I won the Triple Crown on. But Braulio was, he was just such a great guy. And obviously being a tall rider, I love the way he, got so flat on a horse, and for wind resistance, my dad was always a big one about definitely try to get as low as you can, and less wind resistance is great.
There's your dad right there, and
absolutely.
He had 3 sons.
Right, he did. I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
You had 3 daughters.
I did. I know. I don't know what happened. They say it's my fault because I guess the dad does it, but makes that differential of what you're having. But yeah, talking about my brothers, Kerry, my brother, my smallest brother, my youngest brother, was I think about 9 at the time. And right after we won the Kentucky Derby, they had a party over at the hotel. Mr. Wilson had a party, and of course, so Mr. Wilson was standing there, and I was talking to him, and my brother walked up, and Mr. Wilson said, we're really proud of your brother. He did such a great job for us today. We can't appreciate it anymore. And my brother looked up at Mr. Wilson. And he said, Mr. Wilson, anybody could have won on your horse today. About punched him. Yeah.
What are you doing nowadays? What is Steve Coffin? You got a farm, right? Dream?
I do. I have a farm called Dreamfields. I've got like 5 or 6 mares. I buy some weanlings, or and I raise them, and I raise the ones I breed, and we race some, we sell some. Right now, I've got a stable of 8 horses. We got a pretty nice filly called Palace Avenger that won a couple races, allowance races at Saratoga, and then ran 3rd in a Grade 2 at Keeneland, the Great American Thoroughbred of America Stakes down at Keeneland. We're having some fun, and I just love fooling with the horses. I like trying to understand how to raise them better, feed them better, obviously break them better, and just get them with the right people. And so it's been a great time.
All right, you know what? People want to know if you guys can actually pick horses. You know what I'm saying? Enough talk about how great you were. What have you done for me lately? They need winners, okay? And Eddie, did you want to be a hockey player your whole life?
Yes.
See, Steve is a disappointment. He wanted to be a football player, so none of his dreams came true. He became a jockey.
I had to adjust my plans.
You wanted to be a quarterback, right, Steve?
I did, yeah. Johnny Unitas was back in the day, yeah.
Forget about that. We want to know who's going to win.
Yeah.
All right, you got $100 to win on one horse today at Santa Anita. Who'd you pick and why?
Steve.
Yeah, me? Okay. Steve, I picked in the 7th race. I picked award winner, the 3 horse. Basically, I picked him because he's trained by David Hoffman. He's been running, and he's been making the lead in shorter races on the turf, and kind of just getting caught. And to me, David Hoffman's is a good horseman. I think he probably is stretching him out because he feels like that's what he wants, the extra distance. A lot of people think when they see a horse running over a mile and it stops that it definitely doesn't want further, but sometimes it's because they're just getting outpaced. The horses with a better turn of foot are just zipping by them at the end. And so, I thought that was the reason that I decided to ride him. I like the Hernandez is riding good. He's riding at 20%. And then, that's what I went with.
All right. Looks like the front runner award winners. Chabby?
And so before I get to your win bet, I just got to apologize to you. George has shown 62 pictures of Steve and articles and everything else, and all I've got is a Cubs mug. At least that's something from Chicago.
I got 100 more.
Cubs cup back here. That's about all I can do for you. Next time, I'm going to bring up all kinds of things. I'll have a
He's got everything, George. Look at him. Yeah, he's tapping out. He's tapping out.
Yeah. So
this is the horse that won after he was like on that losing streak. He prayed, and Father Duffy came through.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't even have a hockey stick or anything. But what's our $100 win bet and why, Eddie?
I'm going to go to race 6, 3/4 of a mile for 4-year-olds and upward, and I'm going to go to the 5 horse, Self-Taught. For Steve Knapp, who's having a terrific meet. I mean, he really is. His horses have been firing on all cylinders. This horse is dropping, which I like. Proven at the 6 furlong distance. has really excelled on a going on a one-turn type of race. The last couple of races, he's been going 2 turns. In a race prior to that, he was on the grass. So for me, this looks like it's going to be more than $100 bet for charity, just for the record, as far as Eddie Olczyk's concerned.
Right.
I really like this 5 horse. We got the Florida Derby going on today, so I need to make sure that I'm building up my bankroll. But I think Self-Taught for Tiago Pereira, just sit in behind the speed. I think there's plenty of pace in this race. So I'm hoping to get the morning line of 5-1. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think 3-1 will probably be the closing number, and nothing wrong with turning 100 into maybe 400. So number 5, Self-Taught in race 6 for $100 to win.
All right, I like it. 100 to win, Georgie. Cutting back is what he likes to do, going 6 furlongs. And like we said before, Steve Knapp having a terrific meet.
There's a lot of speed in that. A lot of speed in that race should set him up perfectly. Brian Ferguson says to Steve, "How is Susanna doing?"
She's doing great. She's in fold to 1,000 words.
All right, that sounds good. The closest Steve got to being a football player was that he got interviewed here by Howard Cosell, the great one. That's the closest he got to football. Sorry. All right, but you got an exacta, $100 in exacta. Who are you going with? You going straight, a box? What are you doing with that $100?
Same race. I'm going all or nothing. I'm going for either I get through and I win by 5, or I get blocked and I finish nowhere. But I'm putting the 3 award winner and with Gregador, the 4 horse, in the 7th race. And that's an exact $50 exacta box. Gregador, got Mike Smith in the irons. The Amato trains. He's been running really well. The speed figures look good to me. What can I say? It's like,
all right, 3-4. Hey, 3-4 exacta box for Steve. Chavi.
All right, Edzo, we going right back to the well. Is also, what are you doing with your exacta and why?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to that same race, just like Steve did. I'm going to use the 6 horse Canby with Tyler Bays. I talked about the speed in the race, so I'm just going to box up the 5 and 6 and hope that the speed stops and the closers can come and get them. So it'll be a $50 exacta box with Self-Taught and Canby, and obviously with the $100 to win, I hope the 5 horse hits it. So 5-6 exacta for me in race 6.
All right, 5-6 exacta. We're staying in the same race as well, Georgie. It's down to our double time.
That's good. All right, daily double time. And Steve, you've actually played in a lot of handicapping tournaments, right? I mean, that's something that you enjoy.
Well, not a lot. Yeah, I mean, I did. I wasn't very good at it, but I was, it was fun. I did enjoy it. Every once in a while, like you say, you kind of, and that's the thing about those handicapping is you got to catch a decent price, or you got to really go heavy on to win, and at the end of it, everybody that even if they're way down the list, they throw everything in on, and if they hit, they get. I remember in one of those contests that one guy hit that cold exacta in the last leg, like had a whatever.
Yeah, that was I think that was David Goodfriend.
Yeah, 20. He won 20 or 30,000 in that one race.
One race. Yeah.
So anyway, but
all right.
My last choice is also, call me stubborn, but I'm starting in the 7th race with a $50 double the 3 horse in the over. So I can do that, right? Like it's like a wheel, I guess. It's the 3 over the 4 and the 7 in the 8th race, right?
That's perfect.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. The horses in the 8th race are Notre Dame and what's the other one called? Defense Wins. Notre Dame was like $1 million yearling, I think, and now Doug O'Neill just claimed him, I believe. So obviously he saw something that he liked, and it's an Indomitable horse. Nothing wrong with that. So I like him, and then obviously Defense Win. I think he might be the favorite of the race, but Flavian Pratt, obviously he's a great rider out there. He's doing terrific, and Peter Urton. It's good connections. A lot of it, a lot of my handicapping goes around breeding and connections. I take that very heavily into consideration, and so I got Mike Smith on one. I got Flavian Pratt, Doug O'Neill. Sticking with those guys.
And so Edzo, real quick before your double, because I know you look at it a lot, but what's your number one tool for handicapping? Do you look at a lot of replays? Are you a sheets guy? What's your go-to?
No sheets, chap. No sheets for me. I find I just find old school pen to paper, and then I do watch a lot of video. I do have become much more internet savvy, so to speak, and to be able to get to the replays and watch them over and over again, because that's kind of how you see maybe. It's more so now, I mean, where everybody has it at their disposal. So, maybe you don't catch those horses that might be 10 or 12 to 1 and they end up getting cut in half because everybody does have the video access maybe the prior. I mean, I used to put in the old VCR. I used to tape the races and watch them after the day was over, whether I was playing a game or traveling. I would set it and I would get and I would watch them and just find them and just look for those, and you really got an edge. So I mean, for me, it's pen to paper, and then it's the video, and then trying to come up with it. And I've learned the hard way of being a handicapper my whole life is, if you like something, you got to have the conviction and the courage to just say, whether a horse is 2 to 1 or 200 to 1. If you like the horse, you got to put your plums on the table and say, I like this horse, and it doesn't matter. The horse doesn't know his odds, and I'm going to go ahead and play it. And I would rather go down that way than looking at it and go, nah, this horse got no shot. He's 45 to 1. So that's kind of my philosophy on that. So the double I'm going to play, we saw Stevie's double there. I'm going to go to the 5th race. This is an interesting race because every horse in the field has only won one time, and is on the turf. It's the 6.5 furlongs on the grass at Santa Anita. And I'm just going to take a shot with the 8-horse American Dancer for Mark Glatt, another trainer that's having a terrific meet right now. This horse has only been on the grass one time, is cutting back in distance. And with a field that you have a couple of horses that are one forever, I'm looking for some fresh flesh. Say that 3 times fast on television. And I'm hoping Jose Valdivia can sit. I don't think this horse is going to be too far back. I don't think this horse is going to be on the lead, but I'm hoping American Dancer can sit a nice trip, maybe sit in the 2nd or 3rd flight and make one run. So I think a big improvement on the drop. And again, non-winners of 2 in this condition, dropping down a bit. So my double is going to be a $100 double, 8 American Dancer in race 5. And then in race 6, the 5 Self-Taught, who I like very much.
I love it. Georgie bombs away 15 to 1 on the morning line on Edzo's 8-horse there.
Both of our contestants today certainly back up their convictions. They both got all their eggs in the same basket, so they're swinging for the fences. Exactly. Karma is the charity that we're playing for, and we appreciate you guys. There is a tiebreaker in case you guys end up in a tie, like if you both happen to miss your races and end up 0-0. It's going to be race 9, the Santa Ana Stakes. So take a minute to look for who you like in race 9. That's going to be the tiebreaker. And
head-to-head.
Yeah, just in case. So you just got to beat the other guy's horse. Steve, you got to pick first. We did a rock, paper, scissors before the show, and you won. So you get to pick first. And, while you're looking at it, just want to say love to your beautiful wife, Amy, your kids, Caitlin, Carly, and Kelsey, and just any kid you were to have, you were going to just start with the letter K, I guess, right?
Well,
didn't matter.
My wife named him. Yeah, that's
okay.
I'm going to go with the 5 Red Lark. 5 Red Lark.
Okay. Yeah. Eddie's going with the deep closer, big turn of foot on Red Lark. I like that.
You're talking about the 9th, is it?
9th. Yeah,
Santa Ana Stake race.
Where Mucho Unusual is.
Right? Let me check here real quick. I didn't even look at that one because I didn't get that far. All right. Well,
I always wanted an American Express card when I was a kid because Steve had an American Express commercial and he said, with this card, people look up to me. And so I was like, man, I got to get American Express card, man. I was 17 too. I want people to look up to me.
I'm going with Tap Water.
Tap Water, number 4 with the Hall of Famer Mike Smith.
Mike Smith, Mandela. That's me. Yep, all day.
Both of you guys are Hall of Famers to us. It has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, one of you will win, and you're going to move on to round 2. If you lose, that's it. You're out of the tournament. It's like the NCAA. So you're in the Sweet 16 now.
Who's waiting for us?
You can make it to the Elite Eight.
Do we know who's waiting for us at the end of round 2?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Probably Louis the Lizard. See if you can beat him.
Right.
Thank you guys very much for being on the show. Eddie, pleasure to have you on the show. Steve Coffin, my friend, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. You guys have a great day.
Thanks,
everybody.
guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Steve, so much.
Pleasure.
You did it. All right, I'll let you know when.
I don't know if I won.
If you win, you'll